Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why everyone needs to pump the brakes about Cam Newton and the Panthers.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why the Cowboys just proved they're real contenders. Super Bowl contenders. Speak for yourself starts now. And you were even in Dallas this weekend.
In Dallas. I was in Jerry World.
Oh, it's your fault.
Along with about 20,000 other Chiefs fans. All right, welcome to Speak for Yourself. We're joined today by Fox NFL analyst Tony Gonzalez and Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. Let's start in Dallas, where the Cowboys won their third straight, taking down my Chiefs yesterday. Dak Prescott had one of his best games of the year, accounting for 3 touchdowns, and of course it didn't hurt to have Ezekiel Elliott. Meanwhile, the Chiefs look downright average and have now lost 3 out of 4. Cowherd, what's the bigger takeaway here? That the Cowboys are contenders or the Chiefs are pretenders?
Both are for real, but with Kansas City, perfect weather.
Was perfect weather. A little too hot.
Dallas secondary, 3.5 hours with all those playmakers. One big play. And it was essentially to Tyreek Hill a punt return. Okay, can we come to terms with Alex Smith? Will people?
Why is this got to be all about Alex Smith?
Yeah, really.
There's 10 other guys out there with him?
You have all those weapons, you have perfect weather, you have the Cowboys secondary, and you give me in 3.5 hours one big offensive play. Let's just be honest. Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith, they're just guys who occasionally, because of what's around them, are elevated to a moment, a season. But I'm watching Alex Smith, and I'm like, okay, this is, how many years in a row am I going to be lectured on Alex Smith, the new guy?
I saw a team whose offensive line didn't play that well, who didn't have enough snaps. I think they had 55 plays. They didn't really get into their running game. They didn't use Kareem Hunt. I agree with you. I think both teams are contenders. I wouldn't overreact to this Chiefs loss. I saw it coming. Short week, going on the road. They played Monday night before, going on the road to Dallas.
Short weeks never bother Aaron Rodgers and Brady. That's funny.
It's about this team. The rest of their schedule is favorable. I don't overreact here. The man threw his first interception all season, halfway through the season. Chiefs will be fine.
They don't turn the ball over, as you just said. They don't turn the ball over. And this is the game right now. Rob Marinelli did a better job than Andy Reid. Just looking at what was happening, they didn't have an answer for it. They didn't get a lot of snaps, and when you have that reduction in the snaps, you got to figure out a way to come up with some plays based on what that defense is doing. They did that didn't happen, and it was one of those days, man. You're going to have them out of 16. Now, they have kind of come back after that hot start, but you look at the division that the Chiefs are in, and both of these teams are contenders, right, without question. You look at the division that the Chiefs are in, I think they have an opportunity to win their division, which is going to get them in the hunt. And you see what happened then. But I would.
You trust Alex Smith?
I've seen Alex Smith win playoff games. I've seen him play well. I'm not going to say that Alex Smith can't get it done in the playoffs when it's proven. He's gotten it done in the playoffs. Even games they lost, when they lost to Indy. I mean, he almost put up 50. That's not Alex Smith's fault, okay?
They're both playoff teams. I would put everything on it right now. They're both going to the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. As Alex Smith, he was playing like the MVP of the league for the first part of the season. He's kind of tapered off a little bit, which is Alex Smith. He's still a very good quarterback. He's a playoff guy. He's a franchise quarterback that's going to get you at least 9, 10 wins a season. It's what we talk about, that quandary of getting that good quarterback. But you're talking about Hall of Fame. You're talking about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady.
Here's what drives me nuts when people say this. Hey, Alex Smith does not make mistakes. I'm okay with mistakes. Aikman, Bradshaw. But that's like a business guy saying, you know what, he's never lost money. Well, they're not aggressive enough. Lose money. If you're a businessman for 20 years, you've tried.
But no, think about this. Alex was very aggressive. He was pushing the ball down the field. He was doing some things. That's what I'm saying. Some of that you have to look at game plan, too. And if you come into a game plan, you were expecting to run the ball versus this team because you were trying to keep Ezekiel Elliott off the field, and it wasn't working. You couldn't find a way to stop that run game, and that's the Chiefs' issue right now. They can't tackle anybody.
You're there, so you're seeing the whole field. I'm just getting my little television. You're seeing the whole field. Were there openings? Travis Kelce never opened?
Listen, they didn't have enough plays, and what has been going on all season is the running game doesn't come into effect for the Chiefs until the fourth quarter. And by the time they got to the fourth quarter, they were 2 down to get to their running game. And so, again, I didn't like the way the offensive line played, Colin. that's where I thought was a problem offensively. And then defensively, I just always felt like losing Eric Berry, that's the soul of that defense, and they've been trying to cover up for it, but it's just hard.
Yeah.
They went to Dallas.
So if everything goes perfect and they don't lose a safety and they get
They went to Dallas and lost, Colin. A lot of teams the last 2 years have gone to Dallas and lose.
That's what we talked about yesterday. We were going around our little circle picking this game, and they all picked the Chiefs, and I picked the Cowboys. And for this reason, the Cowboys are a good football team.
Yes.
At home, Ezekiel Elliott, I love Dak Prescott. I know he gets a little bit of bad press. I still think he is he's going to be an elite quarterback. He's on his way. The defense is playing better. They've won 3 in a row now. This is a good football team that they lost.
Yeah, it is.
The only thing I didn't like about Dallas, I don't know if you guys noticed it, they went overboard targeting Dez Bryant in that game. They targeted him 12 or 13 times. You know, he threw the tantrum last week. I thought they got too caught up in Dez Bryant.
To Seattle, where Kirk Cousins, how about this? Whitlock even texted me. Pulled off a late fourth quarter comeback to stun the Seahawks yesterday. Russell Wilson in Seattle, sloppy. 14 points, that's it at home. Cousins made a couple of really nice throws with everything on the line in the toughest road stadium in the NFL. Whitlock, were you more impressed by Kirk Cousins or disappointed in the Seahawks?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm starting to lean Kirk Cousins' way.
What do you mean? What do you mean lean?
Thank you.
I'm starting to see things like, oh, I get it. I thought they put him in a spot, minute and 30 to go do something to get this victory. And he did it on the road against the Legion of Boom. I was impressed with Kirk Cousins. They're down a bunch of starters. Their offensive line is beat up. And they go on the road and get this victory in this fashion. And then I go back to the game that they lost against the Chiefs, where Kirk Cousins actually threw the game-winning touchdown pass and the receiver dropped it. So there's been 2 big spots where, and this time it paid off, where Kirk Cousins has delivered in the clutch. And I'm starting to do a little Deion Sanders-like backpedal on Kirk Cousins. I like him.
It's the Legion of Zoom. You zoom right down the field with 2 minutes to go. You know what I was disappointed with? Seattle's one of the smartest teams in the league.
Allegedly.
16 penalties. This is what drives me crazy with
They lead the league.
It drives me crazy with Pete Carroll. Tomlin and Pete Carroll. It's all about emotion. Seattle's got veterans. High emotional IQ. Come on, 16 penalties at home. The field goal
here, Colin. They lead the league in penalties by like 9 or 10.
Listen, it was just a classic game. They missed field goals. They missed assignments. They had a couple of big plays called back. But I watched Seattle there, and I'm like, that looked like a young football team. This is what young teams do. They outplay you and lose. That's not what Seattle does. Like New England outplays you, they win. Carolina sometimes, the last couple of years, they outplay you and lose. I really like Pete Carroll, but he and Mike Tomlin, the Steelers and the Seahawks sometimes, I'm like, I think they beat themselves more than anybody else in the league beats them. I always feel that way about Seattle and Pittsburgh.
I'm more disappointed in what's happening from the defensive side. Kirk Cousins is making plays that he normally makes. Kirk Cousins and Alex Smith are a lot the same to me. They're the same guy. They're capable of making plays. I've seen them make plays. This defense, they're missing their safety. You want to know why everything is going wrong on the back end of their defense, because they had their starting safety. Why can't I think of his name right? Earl Thomas was inactive. When Earl Thomas is not back there, they're not the same. When Earl Thomas is back there, you don't get as many penalties. Earl is the guy that can keep everyone in line, from Richard to Cam to Michael Bennett. He's the glue. Just like you talk about Eric Berry not being there for Kansas City. That's the difference right there. So, and my disappointment is that you do have all those other veterans that understands the importance of winning that game when you have a lead and you allow that to happen. When that guy goes down, and I've seen it happen too many times in big games for them, when he's not there, the other guys aren't finding ways to get it done, and they are more than capable. So Kirk Cousins doing his job in that situation, I'm okay with that. That doesn't surprise me. Kirk's a good player.
Maybe it was a trap game. You know, they call those trap games of what Seattle did last week against the Houston Texans and the way dangerous Wilson played was outstanding. What he did last week. Yesterday, he did not look good. Greg Wineski, defensive coordinator from the Washington Redskins, had him confused at times, and he didn't look good. And this whole team just didn't look good. And it was going against Kirk. I'm so happy for Captain Kirk to go out there. We were watching it yesterday in the studio, and I looked at Terry Bradshaw and I said, I hope Kirk goes down there and drives down and gets this win. Just because everything that he's gone through, people doubting him. I'm so happy for him that he was able to go into the Legion of Boom in Seattle and get this done against a good team.
Earl Thomas is there. Do you think he throws over the top of the rookie and Earl not know it?
Probably not. Probably not. And
That's
come
what
on.
I'm saying. That's a pitch.
Let's face it, though. Come on. The Seattle Seahawks are a better football team than the Washington Redskins.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was just one of those games that I think they were that high emotional win over the Houston Texans. They were in the national media doing specials on them all week, and then they came in there and lost against the team they were supposed to win against.
Yeah, I mean, if you go look at, this is what happens to even Super Bowl teams. This is not college football. Like in the NFL, a couple penalties come at the wrong time, you lose games. That Denver team that won the Super Bowl, that team lost to the 8-8 Colts and the 7-9 Raiders that year in December. So, I mean, you watch college football, you can see athletically you pull away from teams. You know, I've watched Washington now beat the Rams in L.A., beat the Seahawks in Seattle, and they may not make the playoffs. I mean, to your point, you know, outside of about 3 really bad teams in this league, you don't bring your A game, you get 16 penalties, you lose even at home. Welcome back, Tony Gonzalez, Eric Davis are here. Let's move to Charlotte, North Carolina, where Cam Newton looked like Cam Newton old, rushed for almost 100 yards, had a touchdown, led the Panthers to a big divisional win over the Falcons. Can't believe I picked Atlanta. After the game, Cam addressed life after Kelvin Benjamin and sounded downright optimistic, if not a bit confused.
Yeah, we just lost a great player, but nevertheless, you know, the Titanic still has to go.
Yeah, obviously he didn't finish watching the movie. Whitlock,
Cam, it sank.
do you trust Cam and the Panthers to catch the division-leading Saints?
No. If I have a choice between Sean Payton and Drew Brees versus Cam Newton and Ron Rivera, I'm going to go with Sean Payton and Drew Brees. This was a nice victory that they got here. Julio Jones dropped a touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. Something's not right with Atlanta. You were right about them. They're having a post-Super Bowl slump, and Matt Ryan is backed up. So I'm not overwhelmed. I think it's interesting what Carolina's done. Somehow they 6-3? Somehow magically, or I don't even understand how they got here to this point. But if I had to choose between them and the Saints, I'm going with Drew Brees.
Let me just talk to Cam directly. Cam, as always, I've got your back. Actually,
Way back. Go ahead.
I picked Carolina to win. I think they have a better roster than the Saints. I think they have an older veteran roster than the Saints. Saints are playing, by the way, 7 draft picks.
You know this is a flip. Last week on this show, you said Atlanta had the better roster, and now Carolina.
No, I think Atlanta and Carolina have a better roster than New Orleans.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So I think, by the way, the Saints, and also Greg Olsen comes back November, let me look it up here, week 12. So I get Greg Olsen. If Luke Kuechly's healthy, I get Greg Olsen. Carolina's winning with an up and down year for Cam. I picked him. I like Carolina's roster a lot. I have for years. And
you're not going to ride with the quarterback.
I'll tell you what, in that division, I'm out on Jameis. Drew Brees isn't the same. I've never been a big Matt Ryan guy.
Got you.
Cam's the best athlete. I like Carolina.
They're a game behind. I mean, they're just a game behind. So, of course, I still think Carolina has an opportunity to catch up to them. Number one.
Do you think they will?
Do I think they will? Yes, I do.
I like that.
Yes,
conviction.
I do. Yes. Number one, now, the Atlanta, I was a part of that division. Carolina and Atlanta, that's a bigger rivalry. It could just be geographic, but I know how the team gets into it. That's a tougher one. Even when the Panthers have bad teams, they find a way to play the Saints well. Oh, so they're a game behind. They get to play them. Atlanta's going to have, within the division, they're still going to beat one another up a little bit more. I'm with you. You get Olsen back. Kuechly stays healthy. That's the key to everything.
Yes.
Cam's a much better quarterback when his defense is giving him more opportunities. That's how they rode it to the Super Bowl.
Saints are the hottest team that no one respects.
They're the hottest team, but once you get into the end of November, December, you're going to get within your division. They all beat each other up, and that division doesn't care about them being hot.
By the way, they beat Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers. They've beaten the Bucs, the Dolphins, the Bears, the Lions. New Orleans.
It's hard to win 6-7 in a row in the league.
Playoff team. They beat Detroit. Miami was a playoff team. I mean,
did you watch the Dolphins? Well, actually, nobody watched the Dolphins last night.
Those are good teams. Well,
I did, unfortunately.
I'm getting on that bandwagon with the Saints. I mean, they look at their record, what they've done over the last month and a half. What are they, 6 in a row now? Five, 6 in a row right now. You can't discount that. And I loved Marshawn Lattimore, that defensive back.
He's great.
He's defensive rookie of the year. What he has done to that defense, they've stepped it up. Cameron Jordan's one of the best defensive ends. He is a tough guy to block. Trust me, I've been there, done that, and did not do it. He is good. And then Drew Brees, you said he's playing down. Okay, maybe compared to that, I don't even know. I still think he might even have a chance to be that second half MVP. He played lights out yesterday, lights out. And he is so tough to beat in that dome. I've been there 5 times in my career, and I think we won 1 time on our Atlanta teams. And went to the playoffs 3 times. We had good football teams. I'm getting on that bandwagon with the Saints. I think right now that team is good. That team is good.
By the way, I still just looking at where the schedules are for both of these clubs, and like I say, still within the division, they're going to beat one another up. It's a game right now. It's one game.
And by the way, New Orleans is the 4th youngest roster in the NFC. Carolina's got Pro Bowl, veteran, reliable players. This league's all about the Kuechleys. It's all about the Greg Olsons. It's all about the Matt Khalils.
Drew Brees is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Who's
riding a 6-7 game winning streak.
Yeah.
Who's got a coach that's won the Super Bowl and is a very good play caller, and they're playing a little bit of defense.
Listen, there's just certain things I like. In the NBA, come June, I like veterans. NFL gets cold, I like teams that can run and are veterans. I'm not into the vertical passing game post-Thanksgiving.
Did you see Cam Newton punk Ron Rivera during this game?
No. Listen, Cam is what he is. I've come to terms with what Cam is.
Why are you throwing on him, punking him? They wanted to go for it. Funches was doing the same thing. No one's even mentioning Funches going crazy. Look, Funches is doing the exact same thing.
Because no one knows who Funches is.
But what I'm saying, what you
Cam
see,
Newton.
you see offensive guys wanting to go for it. No one's punking anyone.
That's a little over the top.
From both guys, the quarterback and the wide receiver, that's no respect.
You have offensive guys that understand the importance right there. They feel like they can get it. They understand
they
can win that game.
If corners do that or tight ends, I'm okay. You guys are all nuts. I don't want my quarterback. You guys out there on the island, the big egos.
True.
You do what you want.
Doing that, though.
To New Orleans, where the Saints won their 6th game in a row, embarrassing a Tampa Bay team that hasn't even come close to meeting expectations this year. Kind of hard to believe, given this inspiring speech from Jameis Winston before the game.
Eating W's.
Oh, God.
I'm going to pass it. Let's go. I'm going to pass it to Corn after I say one thing. I want everybody to look at me. I'm going to pass it to Corn after I say one thing. Let's go. That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight? How many eat a W tonight?
That is how Jameis Winston's going to be remembered. That video.
What's going on? What just happened there?
You have kids. You ever just watch your kids do something and their kids think it's hilarious and you're a dad going,
listen, he came out of the game because he aggravated his shoulder injury. Now they're talking about they're going to sit him down for a couple of weeks. Colin, this smells like bust. We got the B and the U.
No, I'm not. Wow. I don't think he's a bust. Here's the thing. All these NFL quarterbacks are exactly what they were in college. So Johnny Manziel was uncoachable and a brat. He was in the NFL. Cam was incredibly talented, a little bit of a showboat, is in the NFL. By the way, Jameis in college threw a bunch of picks, was likable and talented, but sometimes had odd judgment. Yesterday, he gets into a little fight. He does the strangest thing I've ever seen before a game. Isn't he kind of what we thought he was? He was a little odd in college, talented, but you were always like, he needs to grow up a little.
You know what a W tastes like?
I don't even want to know what this is.
Chicken.
It tastes like chicken.
This smells like
You feel he's a bust.
He's headed on that path. You know, what I've always called him is Gomer Pyle. I mean, that's who he reminds me of, is Gomer Pyle. He's well-intentioned, but he's a goofball.
He is.
And that's what, again, that's not a guy that's going to lead your team. You're not, after the guy eats his fingers, you're not following him through that brick wall.
Come on, Tony, are you?
No, I just couldn't imagine. I mean, if I was like, 15, 16, 17, looking at somebody do that, I'm like, that's my quarterback right there, doing something ridiculous.
Look at Deshaun. Look at Deshaun in the back.
Look at Deshaun in the back. He doesn't even get it.
That's what the old vets are like. What the hell is he doing? Like, he lost his mind. And then during the game too, when he went up and he pushed the back of that guy of the neck of. I forgot who it was. I don't know if
Could have been
Lattimore.
Somebody. It was one of those DBs.
One of the DBs, and then he pushed him like that. That was absolutely uncalled for, first of all. And that made me lose a little bit of respect for him.
Yeah, right there,
like,
Lattimore.
look, watch this. When he does that is that little kid stuff. That would tick me off too.
Right. If
somebody did that to me. Like the whole face mush or whatever. That's disrespectful. Coming from a quarterback who's supposed to be this franchise guy. With before the game stuff, doing this type of stuff, I know Dirk Cutter. I had him. He was my coordinator. I absolutely believe, he might be a little banged up, but Dirk Cutter's sending him a message right now saying, we don't do that.
I agree with Tony. I do feel like
you embarrassed the whole franchise.
I think
right
Tony's right on that. It feels more than just
maybe.
U.S.
You know what?
Bust.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not going to go that far.
We're headed
say
there.
He's a bust. I don't think he's a bust because even if you look at his record, you can look at the number of games he's won. He got onto a bad team. He was picked the first overall number one pick because it was a bad team. They had no defense. That's why you got Lovey out of there. You couldn't stop anyone from scoring.
But Eric, he's got some weapons.
He has some weapons now, but he's not healthy. So that has a lot to do with it. And I still think the skill set and everything that he has is not bust material. He has weapons around. You got to get the rest of the team there, and I think he'll be okay. I'm with you, Tony. Some of the things that he's doing, the childish stuff has to stop. You can't go out there trying to mess with the rookie. I mean, because when you got to understand the position that you're in. When you're the quarterback, you go out there, you mess with that rookie. He turns to you. Now Mike Evans comes in trying to end his life. Yeah. And you get Mike in trouble. So these are the things you can't do as a starting quarterback.
Here's the thing. You can tell physically. It's not that you go, I can remember watching Jimmy Clausen. Troy Smith, Ohio State, and you're like, oh, that's not going to work physically. Not going to work. And then there's guys like Johnny Manziel. His DNA was spoiled. I do feel with Jameis, he's immature, but he's well-intentioned.
Gomer Pyle?
I think you can grow out of that. I think you can
I
grow
do.
out. Johnny Manziel at 35, you're not going to trust him picking you up at the airport. I'm just not going to trust him.
Hold on.
So Jameis is a big, strong
remember
kid.
This about Gomer Pyle. He was the same way in the Andy Griffith Show as he was when he joined the Marines. He never grew out of it. If you're Gomer Pyle, you're Gomer Pyle.
He is 23. He's 23.
23?
Isn't Winston 23?
He's got a...
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's a baby.
He's a baby.
And that's what I'm saying. He's still growing up, and I think he can. He's talented enough, but you're gonna have to. But you're gonna have to put some pieces around him right now.
Bama. He's Bama.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And he's gonna be Bama.
There's nothing.
Come on. Joe Namath played at Bama.
You got to put some pieces
around
him.
He wasn't Bama, though. Joe was Joe Willie Cool. He was New York. This guy is Bama.
This guy just may not be ready to be the voice of the team yet. Just because he's a quarterback,
there are moments,
you make him that.
By the way, Eli Manning, for about 4 years in this league, was a turnover-plagued mess.
This isn't about turnovers as much as it is about that's a goofball trying to be your quarterback. And so quarterback are for the cool kids.
But what he's still doing, he's doing the rah-rah stuff you do in high school and college because he is still young like that.
I like that. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
All right, welcome back. Tony Gonzalez is back. We're joined now by former NFL player and NFL scout Bucky Brooks. Let's return to the NFL, where we saw a rash of fights break out this week with Mike Evans coming to Jameis Winston's defense in New Orleans, A.J. Green going ballistic on Jags' Jalen Ramsey, and Carlos Hyde, Frosty Rucker, and others getting into it in Santa Clara. Cowherd, should the NFL be concerned about all these fights?
No, it feels like reality setting in week 9 and 10, and really frustrated teams and players and all of a sudden Tampa gets in a game where they're being humiliated. Cincinnati, they're losing their patience. Pittsburgh's pulling away. I don't want to overreact to it. I just think you can sense sometimes in a season, we're at a breaking point. The next couple of weeks, some teams are toast. And I think Cincinnati's getting, that was a weird one because AJ, that was pretty early.
First quarter.
Yeah, I wouldn't overreact to it. I don't know, Bucky.
I'm going to overreact.
You are?
Yeah, I'm going to overreact. I think they should be concerned. AJ Green's on a bad team, and he basically asked out of the game in the first quarter. That's what he did. By doing that, he knew he was going to get tossed from the game, in my view. He's frustrated with the Bengals. Then I go over to what Mike Evans did in New Orleans. This is way out of bounds. He's been suspended. Jameis Winston started this. And then I look over in Santa Clara, and I see San Francisco and Arizona. And overall, a lack of respect for the integrity of the game is what I wrap all this under the umbrella. Too many players don't respect the game, in my opinion. They're concerned about how they use their platforms. They're concerned about their celebrations. They're concerned about social issues, not about respecting the game. And this, to me, is just a clue, to me, a peek into a window. And you just can't take a handful of players and associate the entire league with it. But there's enough players in this league that I don't think respect the game, and that's what I think this is a product of.
I think it's a combination of things. I do believe that you have a new generation of folks that kind of put their own interests over other interests of the team, but I do think the frustration has set in. The common denominator with all the guys that engaged in the fights, they're on teams that were losing teams. And Tony can talk about this. When you're losing, there's nothing like putting in all the time and energy into trying to win a game and week after week coming up short. I think you're seeing A.J. Green and some of the other guys, Mike Evans, they're tired of losing, and the frustration builds to the point that when you're getting whooped on the field, you want to explode. I thought we saw a couple of those explosions on the field play out.
Yeah, I told this story earlier today. I remember when I first came into the league going against Denver Broncos and Bill Romanowski. And Bill Romanowski, after my first game or whatever, he started punching me in the face, and I didn't do anything about it. And I remember I got back to the locker room later on that week. Dale Carter, who's crazy, the defensive back, he came up to me. He's like, don't you ever let anybody do that to you again. I don't ever want to see that. I'll fight you if you come into the locker room and don't. And I learned, like, you got to serve justice in this league. So when you get a cheap shot, like those were, a couple of those things were little, you know, that little poke in the needle on you type stuff. You have to defend yourself. You have to serve justice. Otherwise, you will get kicked around the league. You know, and I think that's what happened here. And you have to send a message that you're not going to be a punk. You're not going to let anybody mess with you. But get the 15-yard penalty. Don't go full board. He went full. A.J. Green lost his mind on this one.
It's incredible.
Mike Evans lost his mind.
And A.J. Green's not that guy.
Yeah, and you're not that guy. And
no,
you know you're going to kick that after this.
Yeah, I think Jalen has his goat. I think the telecast, they showed Jalen and him engaged in a bunch of little things after the whistle, the blocking, the unnecessary stuff. And also, at that point in the game, A.J. Green only had 1 catch for 6 yards. And I know Jalen Ramsey had been talking to him nonstop. Sometimes, reach a point, even the most composed player can go to that line, and I think Jalen Ramsey got his goat.
There's also,
and he exploded.
To your point, players have never made more. There's more pressure. There's more egos. It's a new generation of players. You know, and I sometimes I think, you know, I always think about Michael Jordan never dealt, Roger Staubach never dealt with social media. And social media pumps you up and empowers you, and you're the man. And I'm not blaming players. It's like, Obama was the first president that dealt with Twitter. Ronald Reagan didn't. Jimmy Carter didn't. It's a real living, breathing thing. And I think players are different today. They're a little more empowered. They watch NBA guys. Now Odell's getting the shoe deals. And I do think there's some egos involved and entitlement and feel better about them. And by the way, another interesting point is the celebrations. The league's now encouraging more personality, and so the players have more, you know, chutzpah, chutzpah.
Again, what I'd wrap all of this under the umbrella, there's a lack of respect for authority. And you can't have that in football. You can have a lot of that in basketball, but in a game as violent as football, if there's not clear lines in the sand, someone else is in control, there is an authority that you all have to respect. If you don't have that in football, things will go over the edge like we just saw this weekend. Mike Evans, to me, clear
Yeah, he
way
could've hurt that
over
boy.
the top.
He could have put him out. He could have ruined his career.
Jameis Winston started it, and then the Lattimore, his response wasn't even. It didn't require any response, let alone that over the top response. Lack of respect in this league. I don't like it.